everybody, it's Evan Arcade, and oh my what is another episode with Jason Patrick. What's up, Jason?
Hey man, what's going on?
Well, we have another podcast episode once again. I think we have I want to say it's a very special one, but I mean it's a good one. I feel like it's a good one.
It's relatable. Everybody has it, so.
Yeah, I think so. Last episode. We're pumping these out quick.
Yeah, we're going.
Last episode we talked about what the things that we come back to we end up rewatching, and but we also kind of touched a little bit on what our routines are, because slightly when we rewatch stuff it becomes a routine. But we also said, you know what is it that we do? What other routines do we have in our daily lives that we end up doing, whether it's voluntary or involuntary? And I thought that would be a really good idea to kind of touch on and make an episode about that, especially now where everyone's day-to-day has completely changed due to this quarantine that we're currently having. And just for context, for future generations to listen to this, it is April 25th, 2020, in the midst of a quarantine thanks to COVID-19, the novel coronavirus is keeping us inside. But I mean, what it made us think about routine. So what's your day-to-day routine that you've had, let's say, before the quarantine happened?
Okay, yeah, because we had talked about doing this in pre-quarantine and post-quarantine. So yeah, we could start with the pre, which there's good and bad there, as far as I'm concerned. So I mean, I might have mentioned on a previous episode, I was working somewhere, eventually lost my job. So I guess we could get dark right away, because this is
yeah. All right, let's do that and then come back out.
Get dark. I'll try to keep this I'll try to not go too crazy here. But basically, my day was, and mostly my weekday quarantine, and that changed for a reason. I'll kind of get into that. But my routine, obviously, wake up. But after I lost my job, it involved sleeping in. So like it was a bad cycle. Let me just not hold back here. So yeah, I would sleep most of the day. Eventually I would wake up, decide I want to go out drinking. And so I would go to either Logan Arcade or usually Logan Arcade. We're not going to post a video most likely, but I'm wearing the shirt. I would go to Logan Arcade, stay there too long, drink, do drugs as well. I'm not going to get into what drugs I was doing, but I was. And, and eventually I'll drink too much to the point where I got really sad. I would get really sad. I'm not laughing at you, and I know said this video is not going to go on, but as you're saying this, I'm like having a beer. So it's funny if we ever air this, it's going to be hilarious. As he's talking, I'm just like. But so let me interject real quick. Yeah, for sure.
It get so bad that the people there just said you got to go.
Oh no. I mean, there was one time I went where I had drank a lot and I fell off. They had stools there, so I fell off. I just lost my balance. But they didn't even kick me out when that happened. But
you're a tall guy, so I mean, for you to lose the balance of it, that's.
But basically a mix of drinking, and then I went to the Philippines last year, so I kind of picked up a smoking habit, which I'm still trying to kick. But so I would eventually leave, go home, take an Uber or something, listen to sad music, get really sad, and then rinse and repeat, And I guess I kind of get into a little the drug I was using. I mean that was causing, and I'm sure you have the same thing. Like when you drink too much, it's a depressant. So eventually you're going to reach a point where it makes you sad, right? And that on top of what the other things I was doing, that usually would affect, and I knew it would, but I did it anyway. It would affect me for days after. So and especially my mental state, it would make me super depressed for a few days. But that's what I would do. I would just sleep in all day, go out, and just keep doing that. Yeah, and that was kind of my weekday thing. I've mentioned my girlfriend Christine on the podcast here a few times, but eventually she came into my life, and so on the weekends it was cool because she would, the ritual on the weekend became her just staying over, and she would keep me away from drinking like that. And we would just watch movies all day. And that's kind of like where I picked up my ritual, where we would on Sundays, or I usually either Saturday or Sunday, we would go on these long extended walks where we'll walk for like half the day, eventually eat something.
Yeah.
And that's when I started to really get into the photography and stuff. So
yeah,
that was my ritual pre-quarantine. Weekdays and then the weekends were a lot better. It was easier to stay away from those vices. But on the weekdays, I was on my own, and it was hard for me to have that discipline not to do those type of things. But that's behind me for now, which I'll get into later.
Yeah. It's interesting because at the same time, you think you're over something, but you're really, I say this out of experience as well, is that you're really just replacing what it was, right? Like, in a way, even though drinking was a depressant, but it was also a way for you to kind of to numb the pain or whatever it is that you're feeling.
Yeah.
Or obviously it's a drug, so it's kind of helping you cope, even though it's not helping you cope in the right way. So and then you're replacing that because you found somebody, whether it's somebody like a new partner, a new love interest, or even friends.
Yeah.
Those people are basically replacing that feeling, right? Like they're giving you that feeling, but in a better way because it's a more positive.
For sure.
It's giving you the same effect of making you feel better, but it doesn't have like the negative effects of what like alcohol and drugs would give you. So I think that's how a lot of also addicts kind of turn themselves around. I would say I don't have too much experience in that, but I have experience in that with my family. Well, like I have a family member who's into hard drugs, really hard drugs, stuff that where it's like OD'd a couple of times. So, and now he's like, I'm not saying he's like doing great or amazingly, but he's found somebody who obviously cares for him really well and tolerates him. And from what I can tell, he's maintaining. I don't know, sometimes he still like drinks and whatever like that, but I know he's replaced that because he's found something else that keeps him, almost even like keeps him occupied,
For sure.
You don't have time to drink because you have kids to take care of, or you have to go to work, you have to maintain the family, provide the family, which provides also a bunch of whole new amount of stressors, to do that. But at the very least, you have somebody who's going to be there to tolerate you, or not even tolerate you, but that wants.
And even like part of that, I'm so happy Christina is like such a positive influence on me. But I also, and I'm definitely not there yet, but also being able to get there on my own, not wanting to rely on somebody for my happiness, So I'm definitely trying to get there with it, and but work in progress.
What would you say? Because while that was your routine prior to this, most recently, right?
Yeah.
What was like the routine for you, like even before that? Yeah. Like what's the day look like? Back then, it was temporary, right?
For sure.
Time and depression took a while, but it's still temporary. You might fall back into that, and that's a different routine. That's like the routine of depression, right?
Of an addict, for sure.
That could happen. But what is it for you, just on a normal day when you were working or whatever?
That was pretty mundane, because I was working for Venmo, and I had a 9 to 5, which eventually became an 8 to 4. So it was just working all day, and usually. But
that's what routine is. It's mundane.
Yeah, it drains you. So at the end of the day, you're not really up for much. So weekdays were pretty boring. Just go home, usually sleep. Yeah, it was just sleep and work is all it was, and. Weekends were more interesting. We had happy hours on Fridays, so I would always hang out at work and drink there on Fridays, and that usually will ruin my Saturday. I'm sorry, I'm getting back into the dark stuff. But that's what it is. It was a 9 to 5. That's why that's why I enjoyed the Uber Eats thing, because it was so you make your own hours, and having to work those long hours and just sitting down at a computer, that really does drain you.
No, totally.
For sure. So I'm like, I could potentially get the job back. Like I was talking to my mom today about that, and I don't think I want it back. It was a great job, great pay, great benefits, but I don't know if I wanted to go back to that. Yeah. I
would say in terms of me, my day-to-day has always been, I lost my job in 2018, late 2018.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but I worked for like a big also company. I mean, it's almost as big as like Venmo. Oh, it's probably bigger. I don't know. It was a movie studio.
Yeah.
It's for Nerdist.
So what was that? Nerdist, Geek and Sundry?
Yeah, but they were all owned by Legendary Pictures, which makes Godzilla films, Pacific Rim,
Superman.
Oh yeah, Superman. Yeah, all the new stuff like that. Yeah, and but like a 9 to 5 type of same day job or whatever. Get up, go to work all those time, and you just get drained being there. I mean, for me at that time, there's a lot of nerds and stuff like that. Even then, it's just kind of it still gets exhausting. I'm more of an introverted extrovert, so being around people who are like, it's like a switch for them. Like they have to be funny and they have to be like, hey, get all the attention on me, and it's just and it's like because I mean like the way I am here, this is the true me, but I never could feel like I could be myself in the larger groups. Maybe I could have they were very welcoming and open, but I just always felt like it's me versus them. I mean, that's how I always felt and everything else. Nowadays, though, it's much more, I've been working from home for the past like year and a half.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of, in this sort of situation, I feel like it's important to have a routine because you could fall into that slump of like, I don't have a job, I don't have to do anything, I'm just going to sleep all day, watch movies, play video games, which is completely unproductive, especially for an artist or designer, where you're just constantly have to be creating and making, or maintaining your portfolio. So, and even then, I don't have it, I don't have it right. Like I still kind of diverge from that. But it's like you wake up, make some coffee. I mean, I was with somebody who was really into coffee, and kind of a coffee snob. She was really into like how to make it stuff, and I kind of got into it as well. So now, especially now. Nowadays, it's more of like back then I was just using like a coffee maker type thing, but just coffee. I was always more of a tea guy, but I just started having coffee and just kind of get up, have my coffee, and then make sure I would like check all my emails and stuff and see if anything was coming in. And then somewhere, because it's such a big day, it's just like, what can I do? Like I would probably always go out and go for a walk, buy a coffee on my walk sometimes.
Yeah.
Take the dog with me a lot of times, read while I'm out there, draw, sketch, and then come back and then hopefully sit down in front of my computer and then try to design something, because
for sure
you run a business and it's like you have to constantly be creating stuff in order for it to sell. It's like I have a lot of products on there, and the good thing is that I don't have to actually make them. It's like if people like them, they'll end up buying it, and then that's great. But it's a constant thing where it's a different kind of pressure, it's like you're aware of the fact that you don't have a steady paycheck anymore, so you constantly have to force yourself, like you have to work because you're not going to get unemployment anymore or anything like that. So that's what it was like before that. And the funny thing is, like, we're going to segue into this because what is it now, because after quarantine, right? And my routine is kind of more or less stayed the same because I'm still working.
Because you were working from home, right? Which I wanted to like ask about that, because I mean, I would work from home occasionally. When I worked at Venmo, we were allowed to like 2 days a month to do it. But yeah, a lot of people are now transitioning to just work from home, and there's just that weird thing where like your home is your office, and then until the hours are done, and then it's not, but you're still stuck inside this place.
Yeah.
So like, how is that? I guess like
And that's the thing too. It's like there's so many distractions, obviously, because when you're home, you're always going to be, there's so many things you'd rather be doing.
Yeah.
and even then it's like, it's a waste of time, everything else that I do. Now I have a clearer mind of like, or more of sense of urgency, right? Because like, I think we talked about this personally on the side, is where like, I was on unemployment for a while, but then it ran out, like as all things do. Wasn't allowed to get back on anymore. So it was kind of like a rush to like find more work, push more of my stuff, getting more stuff, like going into debt, trying to make more stuff as well, like producing products and things that I wanted to sell, in hopes that it would like help me out. And there was a couple of times where I made some cash here and there, but it's just like you keep maintaining that. And at the same time, now I think it's a little harder for me to have that same sense of freedom, because I used to do that. I used to walk when I would go on my walks. God damn, I love this life. I'm just taking my walk. I got my coffee. Everyone else is in in an office.
Got a little sketchbook
I'm on
and
sketchbooks and I'm like every other, and I'm gonna say like I'm like all the other white people out here just don't care for, no cares in the world. They get to work anywhere they are. I love that. I'm finally like one of these guys. But no, I mean like it was just kind of an illusion because it's like no, you really need to get to sit down and get back to work.
Mm-hmm.
I mean I think I would spend not even as many hours as I should have. Ideally, like I had made like a plan. It's like you have to like design a couple of things a week, and then it's kind of like normal. You have to treat it like a real job. You have to say like these are your goals or these are your tasks. You have to get this out by then. Nobody's there. Nobody cares if you release anything or not. But for you, it's just like you need to be productive.
Yeah.
And now that I can't go out to my walks or do stuff like that, it feels different. It's like somebody's grounding me. I mean, everyone's grounded, but for me, it's like you can't walk. You have to sit down and you have to do something. You have to make something because otherwise, what are you doing? Because like, I'm just stuck watching Netflix and the same shit over and over again.
Mm-hmm. I don't think there's like a lot of like people posting about that. Like you're talking about your need to be productive. A lot of people are posting about like, hey, don't be so hard on yourself. Like
right.
we're all stuck in this place right now, and there's days where the days are just not gonna that aren't gonna play out as you expect them to, and don't really beat yourself up too much over it.
But here's the thing with that, like I get that with somebody who's like, I don't know if it's different for. I mean, I think it is different for people who aren't designers or artists and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're completely like, if you lose your job, to something like that, I can't expect you, or I don't think anybody else should expect you to be like, well, why don't you do something at home or learn a new skill? And it's like that's weird. Like, what do you ask? For me, it's like, if I don't do it, it's like that's your livelihood. You should beat yourself up about it because.
But even like something as mundane as this, like not mundane, but like, hey, I want to have a daily workout routine, or I want to eat right today, and stuff like that. It's like some days you're gonna do it, and some days you're not. And
no, definitely. There's always gonna be like those days where you, like, your cheat days, and I'll try to maintain that. I think that's leading into that. I think that's another routine that's been picked up, which I think is kind of a negative routine in my case because you don't have money to spend. But especially now everyone's ordering out to eat. Yeah. And I started doing that more often myself, even though like you shouldn't be spending. You have food here, you can cook. But then I should do it. I'm gonna order some food. I feel like that's a negative thing, a negative routine to do. Because sometimes I'll do that as a reward, which is fine. I think like when I recently got another job, finally, and I immediately when that happened, I was like, I'm ordering out, which I think that's fine. I mean, that's cool. But then, like, I think since then I've been ordering out a lot, and it's like, dude, you haven't even been paid yet. Chill out. So,
well, it's like I'm back at home, so like, thankfully my sister cooks most days. Every now and then I do attempt to cook. I did. We recently announced a morning show, and by the time people listen to this, like it's already going to have happened. But I attempted to make pizza, which I believe I'm not sure if we discussed this off air or not on our last episode. But yeah, I attempted to make like a grandma style Sicilian style pizza, like a sheet pan, and it was just the fucking worst thing ever. It's the worst pizza I've ever tasted, and I made it, so hooray for me. But and then I also tried to make Napoli. What's
Napolitano?
Neapolitan, but how do you say it in the Italian way?
Neapolitano, I think.
Napolitan, I don't know. But I was trying to make it. Was it yesterday? Yeah, it was fucking yesterday.
Yeah.
And I'm stretching the dough. The first pizza I make, I'm like, this one's too small. It has to be 12 inches. Second one, I'm like, this is a little bit better. This is a fucking good looking pizza.
We'll save that for tomorrow.
Am I saving it?
I think you should.
All right.
More important for that sort of
thing. You should cut that out then completely.
Nah, that's fine. Just to get.
Well, the point is, you're.
So, because I was talking about eating.
You're like ordering out. My sister's cooking. Yeah.
You make it, You guys are making more of like a effort to make. And well, I mean, in families that's typically what happens anyway. Like
For sure.
was cooking, something like that. Someone's always cooking. Like if I was back home,
Mm-hmm.
there was a moment where I thought I almost had to move back home again a second time, which to me would have been fucking not traumatizing, but just like devastating because it's like you failed again and now you're back again. Not necessarily. It's like they say life's a bitch, but then it still goes on. It's still, you find a way to make it work. But luckily I'm still here. I don't know for how long, because it's the pain in the ass to live in LA. It's hard, and I don't think unless you're really making it, it's difficult.
And yeah, I've about that. I've ended up back here twice. Once I was with my ex, and then we made a decision to move back here. The last time I came back, like I was very unhappy wanting to be here. Like I didn't even like really decorate. It took us forever like to get a proper couch and everything. Cause like I didn't want to furnish it, cause I didn't want to have a sense of permanence here, cause that's not where I want it to be. So like this time around, I'm much more comfortable. It's still been rough, we're in this quarantine, so like we're all stuck with each other. So we are butting heads, which I'll kind of get into that on our morning show. But yeah, I'm trying to treat it better this time, just to feel better about life in general.
Yeah. I would say in terms of, I wanted to also touch on what are other routines that we have throughout the year. And I think we also kind of touched on this a little bit last episode, was because of certain movies that we watch or things that we listen to. Specifically, I think, and this is a kind of a routine that a lot of people have, is that you end up watching the same films during the holidays.
For sure.
Right? Like Halloween, you were saying, like you kind of make it like, again, make an effort to watch, like almost like
I'm trying to watch.
Try at least.
For sure.
And the same thing for the holidays, for like, I was gonna say Halloween again. Christmas, everyone watches like the same Christmas films over and over again.
Well, like out there,
you do that.
How's your Christmas out there? Like how is your Christmas day usually?
So
in LA.
That's funny you mentioned that, because I think, and this is one thing we didn't really touch on in the outline, is like, what kind of routines have you picked up from family that you take with you? And it's like, that's always been a thing where for us it was always, and I guess it's almost like a tradition, where on Christmas Day we always went out to go see a movie.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so we would like the whole family, we'd find something, like that's what we go out to do. And we would order pizza. Some people do the Chinese food on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. We would order pizza and go see a movie if we can go do that. And that's what I do here. Like ever since I moved out, I try to go out and see a movie. I mean, I try to see movies anyway, but it's always like one of those things where like, oh, we used to always do that, so I'm gonna go see a movie. Like I remember seeing, like, back in the day on Christmas Eve, like, no, we wouldn't go to the movies on Christmas Eve, we would go on Christmas Day. But out here, they would be showing a film like at the New Beverly Theater, Tarantino's theater, or the Silent Theater, which is shut down. They had like Battle Royale on Christmas Eve, and I was like, see that. Stuff like that we would always do. The fact that we watched like Love Actually and all those other stupid movies on Christmas, because my mom loves those films.
Yeah.
I watch that because it makes me feel like I'm with my family in a way, So that more than anything, like for Halloween, I probably try to watch a couple of horror films, but Christmas, or even though like I'm not really big on the holidays or that particular holiday, I do it because of how much my mom loves it, or my family like really enjoy doing. Like even when my sister would come over, she's like, we have to watch these movies. You got to get all these movies.
That's a good thing, though.
Yeah, and it's cool. Like I like it because like she would come over, my sister. So for people out of context, like for people who don't know, I think I mentioned it a couple times, and people know me from the Instagram, but I'm originally from Chicago. I moved out here like 12 years ago or 13 years ago. Moved back briefly, come back again. But one of my sisters moved out here as well, like 5 years ago. So she's out here. So we hang out once in a while. And we'll go to the movies, and on holidays we end up hanging out too, because we're the only family here. I mean, we don't have to. There's a couple of times where I wouldn't care if we didn't,
Oh, jeez.
Not that I hate
Hopefully
her.
she doesn't listen.
No, it's just like one of those things where like, whatever, like it's so funny because despite the fact that the Mexican families are very close, we're all very independent of one another.
Yeah.
So nobody really. My mom's the only one who gets emotional when we're not all together. Everyone else is just like whatever. I'm sure when someone passes away, we all feel differently, but yeah. So it's like my sister, when it's possible, we hang out together, and even on normal days back in the day. I say back in the day because it's been a while, but she would come over and hang out, and we would just watch movies. Well, more like she would watch whatever she wants because she doesn't have any of the Netflix or anything like that, so she would just be watching his movies, and I'd come home one day, or if I say, hey, can you watch the dog while I'm at work or whatever, and she'd be just watching horror movies here. So, but yeah, I mean that's all I could think about in terms of that.
Yeah, I mean, as far as Christmas, like, I mean, when I was younger, we had like a few different traditions or routines for that, but those kind of changed, obviously the night before, because I come from a mixed family. My mom's Irish and German. My dad's Puerto Rican. So like we never really. I know a lot of like Hispanic families do the whole.
I was wondering why your mom's name was
Marianne.
Yeah,
yeah, her Marianne Grover is her last name. But. So like Hispanic families, they usually do that midnight Christmas thing. They open presents. And we always did Christmas morning, which for me it made sense. It's like, if you did this whole Santa Claus mythos, if you're doing it at midnight, when the fuck is he bringing the presents? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
But anyway, we would do it in the morning, but like the night before, we would leave out cookies and milk for Santa, obviously, so that my mom or dad could eat them while they're wrapping presents. And I knew like leading up to it, we would always help decorate the tree. Like we would build our fake tree and do colored lights. And eventually, my sister's like a Martha Stewart. So like she's really good at decorating. And so she handles all that now and just kind of does that on her own. So
I hate that. I absolutely hated that. I think part of the reason why I hate it so much is because how much my mom and my dad put us through. Decorate the outside and get all the lights out.
We only did the tree, and I loved it because like we would have the box of ornaments, and it's like you're a kid, and they're handing you the ornament, and you put it up. And it was beautiful, and eventually that went away, which I was kind of mad at first about it, but now I'm fine not decorating the tree.
Yeah.
But Christmas is nice. Like we don't leave the house really. We have our Christmas morning with the immediate family. Kind of sexist here, but after Christmas, the guys chill out, watch football, watch the women cook, and then in the night we have like close friends and family over and stuff. So Christmas is simple, and in regards to Halloween, as much as I like, going to like Halloween costume parties or like going to haunted houses, me and my sister really love doing that. Halloween, I like that to be low key. I like to be here at the house so that when trick or treaters are coming,
the day of.
Yeah, like the day of, I just want to be at home.
Yeah.
It's hit or miss every year as far as trick or treating, and we're probably gonna have a miss year.
I was just thinking. I'm gonna say like I feel like it's kind of gone down. Regardless.
Yeah, and sometimes it goes up. And like this year, I was this summer and which is fucking canceled pretty much. This whole year's canceled.
Yeah.
We got July 4th, so like on a Friday or Saturday. Halloween's on a Saturday this year.
Yeah.
Like it's awesome, but who knows how it's actually going to be now.
That, yeah.
But yeah, the point is, I just like to keep it low key. I always want to see Halloween on Halloween.
Yeah.
I think I didn't do it this year. Shame on me, but yeah.
I mean last year.
Oh yeah, past Halloween.
Right.
So I mean, I know you said you're. I know we kind of got into the post-quarantine thing and whatnot, but like, how has that changed for you post-quarantine?
It's
or not post-quarantine, but quarantine. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, right.
I guess we're not past it. We're not anywhere near being past it.
Yeah, that'll be interesting too when that comes around. Like I mentioned, like the routines still stay the same. There's certain things they can't do, but I think now one thing that is like I guess like a routine that you should be aware of, right, is the fact that you have to remember to like put on a mask. Mm-hmm. Like that's a new thing. Like I mean,
for sure,
hygiene is supposed to be important no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
I think and I think that's one thing I haven't actually mentioned is like I've been washing my hands way too much, like a person who has OCD.
Yeah.
Like even some people,
I have other friends who've do that too.
and
Yeah.
some people were like telling me like, if you don't come into contact with anyone, why are you doing it so much? I'm like, I don't know. What if someone's like walking by and touches my doorknob? Like, why would you do that? I don't know.
I mean,
I
you're
mean,
ordering a lot of Uber, like you said, so maybe.
yeah, I don't know who's touching what. I mean, we obviously I'm in an apartment building and we share the same back door where we take the dogs out. I
Yeah.
don't know if anybody has anything that they're touching the doorknob. I go out there and
Who
clean
let
it.
them out?
What was that?
Who let them out?
Who let them out?
They're the dogs. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that.
It's a horrible joke. um, but yeah, no, it's one of those things where it's like it's gotten so bad. Like you come in, every single thing. Like, dude, I will come in from whatever, take the dog out again, come back, wash them again. Go
Mhm.
get the mail, wash the hands again. Take out the trash, wash my hands
That
again.
makes sense. I guess that makes sense.
Every little thing, and it's like it's got. I
I
mean,
think you should take the dog out, get the mail, and take
at the
the
same
trash
time.
out all in the
Oh,
same
but
time.
yeah, no, that's the next step. That's what it should happen. Which is stupid, right? Because like, duh. I still have a bunch of trash here that I haven't taken out yet. But on top of that, it's like to remember. Like I think now, and I don't know if I don't know if it's mandatory over there in Chicago, but
Uh-huh.
over here, like you can get fined. Supposedly, you get fined if you're not wearing a face mask
I
when
think
you
they're gonna
go out.
start instituting that where like if you go into a store, you have to be wearing a mask.
Right,
But I
yeah.
think when you're on the streets, I don't think
Out here, you just
or say
have
anything.
like if the
Okay.
cops see you, supposedly, but nobody's
Hmm.
actually.
Yeah, they gotta enforce the things, right?
I've been pretty good about it. For me,
Hmm.
it's almost like it's like cosplay. Like I just enjoy like yeah, I'm dressing up. Like and if for those who follow me on Instagram, you see me dressing up or have like different masks on. I have goggles now. It's just it's almost become an excuse for me to become more outlandish. Like everyone wants it to become a Mad Max style apocalypse, or it's like
Yeah,
dressed
yeah.
all crazy. But yesterday I took the dog out for a walk and I completely forgot the mask and I just completely felt super like anxious the entire
Hmm.
time. And it was also very windy, so I was like, oh shit, even worse.
Hmm.
So I think that's when like there's a lot of anxiety that's kind of crept in more so than what I'm normally used to.
Yeah.
In terms of like what's happening now or how things are changing. Like I made them my routine, but at the same time now I'm just like worried about everything. It's
Yeah.
like it
Well,
can't.
it's even weird like when you're watching something. Like I'll be watching a movie or a TV show and people are doing things that we don't do now.
Yeah.
you know and it's just like it's weird to see them do that because we're getting to the point where this is not the norm anymore, and
Mhm.
so it's very weird.
Well, it's
Yeah.
one thing, and I know we'll touch this on more on the morning show, and
Hmm.
and when we do a recap of this, like eventually, whenever we come out of this quarantine,
Yeah, yeah.
I was mentioning to my friend because we met in a bar, and he'd like to say that he saved me from another gay guy hitting on me, but
Uh-huh.
he's gay, and he's stopped him from he wanted to get with you. I'm like, dude, I had it under control. But anyway, became good friends, and but we're bar buddies basically.
Okay.
So we would always hang out at the bar, and we were just talking about it. Like I was asking him, like, how you doing? How you been holding up? Because whenever you would have a rough day, it's like, hey, do you want to go to the bar?
For sure.
And after, and that became another routine too. It was like we would always be there. I would always be there on Wednesdays, and I'd always be there like on Sundays. Sundays was more like the party day. Wednesdays would be more like the chill day, where actually no Mondays. I used to drink a lot, so
Yeah,
I
for
don't
sure. Mondays and Wednesdays were
I
my
don't
days.
consider this dark,
Uh-huh.
but I drank a lot. I think I started drinking too much during my last job. Yeah.
Well, yeah, for sure. And like my, to get into my like quarantine life, like it's a lot better than what it was. And you know, speaking of you saying like eventually when things kind of get to some sense of normalcy, um, speaking on that, for me personally, like that's going to be the true test. Because like, so like when this quarantine happened, that's right around the time like, hey, I want to get sober. So like I moved back home, so
It's a
that
good
helped
time.
a lot. Um, and then I was working. So like the only vice I really had was like the cigarette smoking. Uh, but I pretty much, if you follow me on social media or anything like that, I'm not like throwing that sobriety thing out there, like how people like throw it in people's faces. I just, whenever I reach some sort of milestone, I do post.
Sober.
I do post about it. So like I would do it every week, and then I finally made a month, like I guess 2 weeks ago, I made a month. So like now I'm just gonna post it once I reach like a monthly plateau there.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's easier for me. Like I'm sure I've mentioned this on a previous episode. It's like I've never been one to drink at home. The only time I did drink at home, which I have fond memories of that, and that's when we met. We met through playing Destiny. At the end of the night, I would make myself a few old fashions and go on some raids, and like those were good times. Like it wasn't an issue. You know what I mean? Like I'm having one or two cocktails just to kind of loosen up and do that. But yeah. So on this quarantine, I've been completely sober in regards to that, and obviously ritual has changed. Like those daily walks that I was mentioning that I would go with Christina on the weekends, and we do still have our walks every Sunday. But I've been doing that on a daily basis. I go for a walk, maybe too much. Maybe I shouldn't be leaving the house so often, but usually it's just
you're not around other people.
Yeah, I mean I'll go to. I usually go on a walk. I go to Dark Matter, to get a coffee, but that's not really an issue because they only let one person in at a time.
Wow.
And which is fine because it's never like super busy, so it's usually empty or one person in there. It's like I'll go on that walk, and that's where I'll still keep up with my photography, and then I'll go home or go to a store because like there's not much to do now. So like I've kind of been I hit on the pizza thing. I've been trying to get into baking and stuff like that. So like every week now I make chocolate chip cookies. You might have some coming your way whenever I send that package.
I was going to say something, but I was like, I don't know.
I was going to surprise. I mean, so I made cookies the other day. They're amazing, but I'm probably not shipping this package till Monday to you. So I'm going to make another batch so I can send you fresher ones. And I'll probably eat the ones that are sitting over there. But I kind of got excited about this recipe.
That's cool. That's like a positive thing that's come out of
for sure
routine that's come out of this.
Yeah, and I love it. And like to top, it's like the past 3 Sundays I made cookies and they've gotten better and better. And now the last 2 times I made them, I'll put bags of cookie in little Ziploc bags and like hit up a few friends' houses and just drop the cookies off.
Awesome.
And be like, hey, there's cookies outside your door. Enjoy them. I'm gonna keep doing that.
That's another thing too. Like another. It feels funny to me touching on like it's another routine. This is another routine. But it's like it's become a thing now where, people are helping out each other in a way where it's like, hey, I have this. Who wants this? It's become a thing. I mean, I'm not saying that's a routine, but it's become like a kind of a new thing where people say like, I have this. Who needs this? Like, or I'm making this, or I have plenty of this. And then most people are doing this altruistically, right? They're just saying, here, take this because I have a lot of this.
For sure.
Which is like, it's always been available, but I feel like it's now become more of a thing because everyone's like, well, no one's working. It's like, I have an abundance of this fruit in my backyard, or I decided to make all this and I have too much. Like somebody on the new job that I started, a guy and his family, they bought a ton of yeast. So they're just baking a ton of bread. And they're like, if you want a loaf of bread, just come by and we'll give you bread, And so in the same way, it's like, it's become this bartering system where it's like, well, I have this. And like, well, we don't want anything, but I'll give it to you either way because I feel like I should pay you in some way. So I think that's very cool. And I hope that continues beyond this because I think it's a cooler way to. I think there's a stronger sense of community when people like look out for each other because I think now we're realizing like the fucking government doesn't really give a shit about us. We're all standing together and alone, not alone, but like it's just us. The whole typical us versus them, but now it's like the us is actually helping each other out. So I think that's very cool. I also wanted to say too, like because you mentioned the walks, and I think that's another huge thing that started for me too. Like once I quit drinking, I started going on walks. It just became one of those things where it's like it became a melancholic thing where like I'm sad, I'm gonna go for a walk, And I just kept walking. I would just do the walks that I started it because I was depressed. I just wanted to clear my head, and then I would walk like fucking long ass distances. I was just like,
Mm-hmm.
I would come home like ragged, like tired, and like if I got stranded, right? Like I didn't call an Uber or whatever. I would walk from downtown all the way back to my house, and
Mm-hmm.
everyone's like, "What are you doing? Like, why are you walking?" Like this whole thing. I was like, "That's whatever. It's not a big deal," and that helped me in a lot in terms of like I lost a lot of weight during that whole time where I quit drinking. I stopped eating out, and all these walks completely like people look at me now like, dude, you just like look completely different. And it's been changing now because we were saying like I'm ordering not a lot of food.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's become a ritual where I really enjoy the walks. Like you said, it's just like it clears your mind and I get a lot of good photos. I've met a lot of people just on my walks. Like I posted it on my Instagram like I met this person on the river the other day and then like the next few days we hung out. So I think that's very cool because I've never really been that social, and
Mm-hmm.
it's been a habit that I want to break, to be more social and just kind of like talk to people, just to break out of the shell. Because I just think most people are dumb, but not really. Like I don't want to talk. I don't want anybody to come near me. I don't want to bother you. But it's been great, especially out here. So it's been a really fun thing to do. So I think I really enjoy like the walks. So I think, and that's what I miss now because it became such a habit, such a ritual to every day go out for your walk, no matter what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Now I got a new bike, so I've been doing a lot of bike riding too, and just trying to push myself. So I think that's going to become a much more normal thing. Like
Yeah, I finally
I
got
know,
my bike back
I know
too. So
you're a bike rider, so
yeah.
you're good. I mean, I was saying you're good at that, but you know what that's like. So for me, I've always been hesitant about riding it out here because it's fucking dangerous. I mean, I've seen guys get hit by cars.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never worn a helmet in all my life until like the past year because
Uh-huh.
after I saw some dude get hit, I was like, all right, I'm gonna wear a helmet because I mean when I was living in Chicago and I was talking to my dad about this, we
Mm-hmm.
would we would take our bikes from like um so that's funny because there's a Burbank, Illinois, and there's a Burbank,
Yeah.
California. We lived in Brighton Park, Chicago, on the south side for
Mm-hmm.
the longest time. Then we moved to the Burbank, Illinois. We would ride our bikes from Burbank, Illinois, all the way downtown to the lake. That's
Mm-hmm.
a long ass ride. When you're young, I don't even think I ever paid attention to the miles, but it was a
Yeah.
long ride. We would do that, no helmets, just my dad leading the way, me and my siblings. And then I would tell my dad, like, dude, I can't believe you fucking did that. Like, we could have fucking died. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, I don't remember any occasion where we could have, like, there was or an instance where, like, oh, I almost got hit by a car. I do
Mm-hmm.
remember once, like, falling. One memory that stands out is, like, I do remember making a hard turn and my seat stayed in the same direction that I was going. So
Yeah,
I
for sure.
that. But other than that, it never happened, and we went back home or whatever. It's a long ass ride. Like I can't do that. I mean, I probably could do that now after some practice, but after all that, I was like, out here the culture too is very much like even though there's more bike lanes popping up,
Mm-hmm.
it's still very much like people the drivers.
Like car to bike ratio or
Yeah, people they hate the cyclists.
oh yeah, I mean people out here hate them
That's
too.
everywhere, right?
Well, for valid reasons, like most bikers I would say a vast majority of bikers like do not follow the rules of the road
Yeah.
and are not respectful of the cars and like I'll blow stop signs at and you know pass a red light every now and then, but I try to be respectful with the cars on the road. So like I totally get that. It's
For
still
sure.
regardless, it's still dangerous.
Yeah,
Uh,
but I think now, and I told other people too. For me, it's been a really great time for me to get back into it to sort of wean myself into being able to drive on the street like
hmm
an actual car. Like I'm much more confident now. Like I'm fucking doing my signal,
Yeah,
a little bell, like bing bing bing,
yeah.
like so people know. So like I'm definitely building up my confidence to be out on the street. To
Yeah.
just
And
ride.
when you're not doing it for a while, it's hard. Like I remember I had taken off a while, and when I got back on a bike, it just felt so weird. But then it just becomes second nature, and
Yeah, but it's like
constantly looking over your shoulder, and like you said, signaling and stuff. Yeah.
it feels like that first time when you're getting onto the highway when you're learning to drive.
hmm
Oh shit.
I don't know that feeling, but
Um, well, for the ones who are listening, you guys
yeah,
will.
yeah, yeah.
But
It's not all about me, I know.
but yeah, it's a lot like that where it's like, oh my god, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. Or like, I'm not fast enough. This guy behind me is waiting, and it's like, no, they have to wait for you. They have to be patient. You have to share the road with people. There's a bike lane here. They have to be aware that there's cyclists. So I'm really enjoying that. And I mean, another thing I learned is that there's a lot of fucking hills over here. So it's been really a pain in the ass to get around. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. The other thing I wanted to touch on too is like, can you think of other? I was gonna say there's some negative rituals that we have. Touch on. I think one of the most popular ones that everyone has is that, and it's almost involuntary, is that everyone checks social media now. It's like it's become secondhand. Like you don't even realize it. You wake up, you check social media. Before you go to sleep, you check social media. I was mentioning it to you. Sometimes it's like, and this is a general thing where everyone checks on their exes, things like that. But like, can you think of other negative routines? I don't know. Yeah. I think we touched on a lot of them already.
I mean, it's like I have this bad habit. I mean, so yeah, the social media thing is definitely it's gotten a little bit worse. I mean, we're at home, so like that's just, it goes without saying. Like if you're at home, you're going to be on your phone, and that's just the fact of the matter. But I had that screen time thing that Apple has, so it'll give me that weekly report of how many. So it's bad. It's like at 6 hours a day, something like that.
A day? Holy
a day. I think it went down like 7% from last week, but it's still bad.
Yeah.
And then I have this. Well, I have a bad habit where. I mean, I usually only eat like 2 meals a day, but if I stay up late enough, which I don't, like I'm usually in bed, which I do like this ever since I guess I was working at Venmo. I had that morning job, so my sleep schedule is normal. I used to be a night owl. Yeah. I'm sure you knew this. Like I used to be up to like 4 or 5 in the morning, but now I'm in bed by noon usually and up by like 8 or 9 o'clock. So like that's been cool, so I could get up and make breakfast and whatnot. But usually towards the end of the night, whatever we had for dinner, I'll have that extra meal late at night before I go to bed, which is always bad.
Yeah.
And then cookies and milk. That's not really an issue when I'm not living at home, but my mom has the habit of stocking the house with sweets. Also, I've been making weekly cookies, like I said. So like
you're making them now.
For me, it's like a comfort to.
For sure.
It's a comfort to have a glass of milk and a cookie. And then go to bed. And like I feel like I can't fall asleep without that. I'm not sure if you ever knew this about me. It's just a habit I've never kicked, which is awful. One day. No, I suck my thumb.
Really?
I suck my thumb. And if the people who know me, you could like catch me do it. I mean, obviously.
Isn't that when you're sleeping? This is just in general?
No, it's usually when I'm sleeping. I mean, yeah, it's when I'm sleeping. Well,
I never seen you. I mean, we've been in hotel rooms together, but
yeah,
too wasted.
I guess you just never, like me and Evan have hung out a few times in California, and in Chicago. But yeah, I have this thing, but it's mainly with sleep. I do have to do it when I sleep, and I try not to, but sometimes I can't fall asleep, which is why I have an overbite.
I've never met anybody else. I mean, I never met. That's interesting though.
I mean, I've known 2 other people in my life who do it. Like my mom always thought it was cute, which is not the way to approach it.
Right. So, the moms never. They're the worst enablers.
Not the way. It's not the way to do it.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Like my teeth aren't awful, but I definitely have like an overbite for sure. But I'm hoping, if I eventually get braces or Invisalign or something, which I do want to get, I'll have to stop it at that point.
I mean, does it still work at our age?
I don't know. Like my sister did one of those ones, where they send in
the kits.
They send it in to make a mode or whatever, a mode, and so she's been doing that for like a few months.
Has there been a difference?
I don't know. Like my brother has the best. You can go on a rant with braces. My brother has the best teeth because he got braces when he was like in his late teens. But everybody else kind of has messed up teeth.
I have an overbite, even though
mine aren't awful, but I have a pretty bad overbite.
A dentist told me once, like, you have perfect teeth, but then somebody else. I mean, it's obvious I have an overbite. It's not super obvious, but it doesn't. But that orthodontist didn't know what the fuck I'm talking about. But I never got braces either.
Yeah. And speaking of an overbite, like back in the day, I mean, they still do it in video games or whatnot. But I think it was Tiger Woods golf. They had the thing where you could do like the face, like you could scan your face and then they make the character, and you eventually make adjustments. And I made a character that had the fucking worst overbite. I was like
It's like
so
the Simpsons
embarrassed.
overbite.
It was bad. Like my friends were there, and I'm like, oh god. They just started laughing.
I'm trying to think. I don't know. I can't. I mean, I'm sure I have a lot of negative things that I do like that, but I did want to touch on
I
the.
mean, I masturbate too much, but whatever. We don't have to get into that.
No, I was gonna mention that. I mean, the sex stuff is. I mean, I don't think my schedule or my masturbatory schedule has changed any differently. Maybe it's the volume has
Mine
gone
has
up a
always
little
been
bit,
kind
but
of too much. That's my schedule, too
I,
much.
I was just gonna say it's pretty funny because it's like it's a natural thing. People do it. You should do it. I mean, if you don't do it, then you really need to do it.
People are really horny right now. Like everybody's like, unless you live with your significant other, you're very horny.
Which is funny. Okay, this is great. This is a great segue, really quick, because I know we're getting closer to the longer end of this episode. But I wanted to say, one thing that's become very routine is the way we date people. I think I mean, like, people, women, especially. I mean, I would say women, partners in general. I don't know if it matters. And this is what I'm trying not to be politically incorrect in any of this, but it's so funny because like I mean now dating has changed, right? Because it's a lot of social media dating or social apps. There's Tinder, OkCupid, all these things. So the for me, like, the regular route to go is you talk to them and then you ask them out. And it's usually always coffee, right? It's very random where you have something where it's going to be completely unique in itself. But it's always
done 2 coffee dates and they both didn't go that well. So I don't know.
For me, like, so here's the thing, and this is a purposeful routine. When I go out with people, I have to tell them, like, we have to meet during the day.
Okay.
Because it's like, well, because some people want to get a free dinner out of it. I don't know, whatever, during the evenings or go.
You're cheap, I see.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
But
I'm sorry, keep it.
But I like, and I tell them this. It's like the reason why is because if you go early, and for me, at least for me personally, it's like usually like a museum date or sadly. Not bougie, maybe like as basic as it is in California, is to go on a hiking date or something. Mm-hmm. But it's to go out in the day and then you kind of feel it out, see how it goes, and you can kind of gauge if it's going really well, you continue on, or you maybe you do that, whatever. Or if it doesn't, you say like, all right, cool,
you have the rest of the day, I guess.
Yeah. You still have the rest of the day to do something. I feel like that's really good. I mean, I've been on dates where I've been stood up. And I'm at the museum already. And I'm like, I'm at the museum. I don't give a shit. I'm going to go. I wanted to be here anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
This person's not here and she's not going to come and see me. I'm going to go into the museum and hang out. So I think that's always my thing. And I feel like it's horrible to be like, that's the routine, right? Like, no matter who you are, I'm going to say, let's go for a coffee. Let's go to the museum. Which seems horrible, right? Because it's like, because a lot of people say like, oh, you bet you say that to every person. Like, you ask them out the same way, but it's, I don't know what else there is to do. Like, the only one time where I had somebody tell me like, come over, and that's because she had just got divorced, and well, so that was
going with the story. Or
there are unique moments where stuff like that happens, but I mean, what else can you do? I mean, obviously you get to know somebody really well beforehand to know.
I mean, that's a good way. There's nothing wrong. Like, that's the coffee thing. That's obviously, better.
I mean, because coffee
could turn into something else. You could order some food. Sorry about that. What were you saying?
No, so like coffee could turn into food. Like, hey, I'm really enjoying this. Do you want to order some lunch? Do you want to go get lunch? I've been on things like that where we just kind of hang out and we just go and we just end up doing something else. I mean, obviously it takes a while for you to get to know somebody, especially now on social media. Back in the day, it was very, I mean, I'm old, but when this whole social media dating stuff started, it was very much like you have to be careful who you're talking to. You don't know who you're going to end up meeting with. So it would take a while before you actually end up meeting somebody. So you have to really get to know somebody before you go out with them. Nowadays, it's like almost like, I will see you tomorrow. I mean, there's still that that concern, like this person might be crazy.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people, and especially now during the quarantine, I think everyone's gonna be jumping at it immediately once we're allowed
For sure.
to just get out. I'm not saying because they're horny. I'm just saying like people just need interaction. Like I've had some friends come by and we not here, and I know some people get very upset or stingy about paying attention to the whole social distancing thing and not hanging out or whatever. But
Yeah.
I've had friends ride by, or we went like I think we talked about it, or we've seen it. Like
I've stopped by friends just to talk with them.
We were howling equidistant of each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't. And I even said like, hey, if you guys are riding, I'll join you guys. And I just read somewhere like, don't do that because then it becomes a group and a bunch of people are riding around. And I get it, but it's just. I think now more than anything, I'm a very like I said, introverted extrovert. But now being cooped up like this, I really like. I bug you like I want to record because I just want to talk because I'm so like I didn't realize how much I would miss interaction until I was like forced to be, isolated.
Mm-hmm.
And even when I would go out, it's not like I say like I'm like, hey, let's go, man, how you doing? Like, I was still kept to myself, but I like being around people. And I mean, I get what do you call it, inspired by just seeing other people or just like doing all that sort of thing. So it's definitely changed a lot.
Well, even now, like when you walk past a complete stranger, you're much more likely to acknowledge each other.
Yeah.
And just give yourself a nod or like smile. Like I make it a point to like smile at the person.
Yeah.
Try in the least creepy way possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just fellow human beings. I
like that. I think
treat each other like we don't exist.
Coming out of all this too is that everyone's kind of being nicer. I mean, I'm hoping outside of the people who are
hoping it sticks, right?
Protesting against the quarantine, but
yeah, there's that whole aspect which is just
we don't want to get into that. But that's pretty much this episode.
Yeah.
Routine.
Well, like before we go, we kind of didn't talk about this. What happened?
I mean, you want to pimp something out? Plug something?
No. Before we go, like, I was gonna say, what are some routines you want to pick up that you hope to pick up?
That's a good. And we did talk about that. And I think we'll go into more detail with this on the morning show, and this particular morning show, just because it'll be our first one where we talk about this. But I really enjoy. It's become very hipster or whatever, but like the coffee thing that we had talked about. Yeah. I really like that becoming a new ritual for me. Like I got a French press, and learning about how much the ratios of like the water. I mean, I still don't do like the exact temperature. I don't have a thermometer on my water that I put in and steep in there. But I like that whole. It takes time. Like good things take time, and so I want to apply that to other things. Like whether it's cooking. The only reason I love cooking, and I think I would love baking too. The only reason I don't bake is because I know that I would be, from eating all this stuff. I live alone. I don't have anybody else. I mean, I could probably give it to friends and stuff, but
yeah, that's why I've been making it a point to do that.
But I like the thing, and I know we didn't touch upon this, but I did want to. I maybe in a future episode or whatever, but I wanted to talk about like. Eventually, maybe I'll bring in somebody else to talk about. Not that I'm designer, but I wanted to talk about my process and my routine when it comes.
No, for sure.
Coming up with designs, but
I want to hear about that shit anyway.
Huh?
I don't want to hear about that shit anyway.
But yeah, no, it's just like taking the time to do something right and doing well. It gives you something good. So I think that, and also I learned. Not that I wasn't not doing this before, but supporting local businesses, realizing how what's the word? Necessary isn't the word that I want to use, but just because they're the ones who are like around, that are keeping at bay like the Olive Gardens and the McDonald's and all that stuff like that. Without these places that we wouldn't have something else to have. So I like the idea. Like I want to become better at supporting the businesses around me, which I've been doing recently as I've been posting like I went back and I started buying coffee from Dark Matter. I know Jason's got me some stuff from Dark Matter, and also just out here, I've been looking for people who are roasters that are local, like that are not like big corporations that have been bought out.
Yeah.
So I think that for me is just like the process of doing something really well is become something I feel like it's kind of important, and it's kind of like zen in a way. Like, routine can be mundane and boring because we're so used to it. It's just, we're doing the same thing, nothing changes. But at the same time, it's a good way to fight back the uncertainty that's happening, and we don't know what's happening in front of us, right? We don't know what's going to come next. So for us to do this ritual and this routine of coffee, like that's always constant. You can control that.
Yeah.
And you can say like, I'm making this coffee, and like time stands still. Like no matter what, this is happening right now. I'm making this. Time stops, and you kind of like zone out.
Yeah, and it's good to have like a mix of that, which I think we kind of forgot to. Let's backtrack on this outro.
Yeah.
Let's stay here for a little bit more. But like, as far as like, it's good to have like a mix of both things. Because like I was talking to Christina about this, and that I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way. Like as good as it is to have a routine, it could eventually could make life become pretty mundane if you're not putting those like moments of excitement and doing something spontaneous, which with the walks. That's why I enjoyed the walk so much. Like we literally just pick a direction. This is the direction we're going in today, and let's see what we see.
That's a good point. Yeah,
and you're gonna come upon something, but there's so much comfort and in that routine, like you're saying with the coffee making, you're doing that. I'm doing my baking, and that's something that I want to like go deeper into and get better at. It's like so hard for me, just personally, just because like when I do something and it doesn't turn out the way I want it to, I get really discouraged. Typically,
I think a lot of people do.
And so that kind of like stops me from getting better at those things. But I'm trying to fight against that. I made the worst pizza in the world. Eventually, I'm going to get to a point, and I'll talk about this tomorrow. Eventually, I want to get to a point where I know how to make a decent fucking pizza. But it's what I'm trying to get at. Is like it is super important to still have that excitement. And I know I'm not saying anything that hasn't been said before here, but there's comfort in the routine, but also keep your life exciting doing those.
Totally. And I think, and to still stay here real quick, I think those walks do help because I think from the routine, you get spontaneity, you can still, come out of it. Like, and I think the walks are a perfect example of that because even though I walk the same walk, like every other day or whatever, the same path that I decide to take, I meet new people. I make new connections. I end up doing something else, like I end up maybe I don't walk this way anymore because I just met this person and I said, I'll show them how to get over here. We end up spending the day together. I've done that before and it's cool, but it's not going to happen if I don't go out and do that walk, the same walk that I do every week, And the same thing with, like you were talking about, like, oh shit, I lost that thought. But yeah, no, it's true. Like I think spontaneity is good, but at the same time, I think, and that's always been a negative thing for me too. It's like it's hard for me to break from like here's like a what would you call it, a neuroticism or a thing that I have, a tick. Not a tick. So I can't eat spicy food. Like I could eat spicy food, but I don't like eating when I'm out. This has been a thing that I've had for the longest time. I just don't like eating when I'm out.
Okay.
Because I've had this thing where...
You mean like go to a restaurant and eat?
Yeah. I mean like... No. I could do that.
Yeah. What do you mean?
Say like if we went out... Like, okay, so... This is going to be a longer episode. The last time I was in Chicago... No, not the last time. The last time I was in Chicago when we hung out. We went to that... the crab place.
Low Country?
Yeah, Low Country. And I was super afraid of going to this because I was like, first of all, I don't like spicy stuff because it makes me sick. I mean, I do like it, but it makes me enough like I gotta
just have a reaction to it.
I need to have a toilet near me. And so I was very worried about that because I don't like to be in those situations. Did we do anything else after that? Did we have drinks? Did we go anywhere else? I don't remember.
I think we went to like a comic book shop and a record store or something like that.
Yeah, we ended up walking around like that.
In Lakeview.
Yeah, and I think, but generally, like, that sort of thing worries the hell out of me because I'm like, what if I have a gastrointestinal distress? That's what it's called.
Yeah.
Distress. So I try not to do that, but it's like, it's not a problem, but I've had that pop up again. So for me, it's like, and I think this is part of the reason why, like, ladies, if any ladies are listening, if I don't ask you out to dinner, it's because I'm worried, or like I don't want to do anything after dinner. It's probably why. But it's because it's not even a thing that actually happens. It's just because I've had this happen to me once, and I've had that fear in me, and it's all mental, right? It's all in the head, mind, and I have to learn mind over matter. But yeah, so I try not to do that because I want to, like, just have something very simple. And I think even when I started doing coffee dates or coffee meetups, it used to upset my stomach insanely when I was younger. That's why I never had coffee when I was young. And to a point, it still does sometimes. But yeah, so it's like become a thing where it's like I don't want to do that unless I've had that happen to me because I've had some friends where we would go out to eat and I'm like, all right, I'm done for the day, or I'm not going out, and they're like, hey, we're gonna go hike, let's go, and I'm like, okay, and because I really like somebody, I'll go, and then it's like, oh man, like I shouldn't have done this, or like, and I'll still do it, but like I gotta cut this trip short, but yeah, no, so certain things like that happens where it's like I need to break out of those, so I wanna be better at that because I know it's more of a mind over matter thing. It happens a lot. Like, it's funny because some friends already know that about me, and so they're like, I'm making this, but I know you can't have it, or you won't eat it because you're like this, and I'll still try it, and I'm like, I'm fine. Or like, oh, you're eating this stuff? Like, yeah, because I'm home. I don't have to worry about going anywhere. But yeah, that's a habit I like to break, or and I think that's kind of held me back a little bit, which sucks because I think when I was in Italy, like so many years ago, I didn't eat as much as I could have, which is really sad. I drank a lot because it's wine. I could live off of wine, but yeah, it's kind of one of those things where, like, I told people, like, I never even had spaghetti when I was out there, or I had pizza and I had some other stuff, but ultimately I didn't explore it like that. And I think that's why there was a quote that, this is completely off topic now at this point, but Anthony Bourdain was like, I'd rather spend a day in a fucking toilet, praying to God, but have like the best dinner that I had than not to try it and never experience it. So I'm like, he's become like a personal, like, hero of me in terms of how he lived his life, and that's how I want to live my life too. So that's definitely something I want to change, and in terms of spontaneity and just go with it.
Yeah, and like even like in past relationships, that's what it would become. Like, basically the relationship was going out to eat, everything centered around that, which my parents are really into that as well. So like they don't go out to eat, obviously, because we're in the quarantine right now.
Yeah.
But like that's what, if we go on vacations or whatnot, it's usually centered around, oh, when's the next meal? What's the next restaurant we're going to go to? And that's what kind of like what my past relationships has become. But now there's like, this thing I got going now. It's a lot more fun because of the walks, and or like the days of movie watching. Yeah, you're just sitting at home, but like you're experiencing like a piece of art while you're doing it. So
it's one of those things, like, when, like, for you guys, like, if you're on a walk and you see something new, you like want to try it, and you wind up by trying it out.
Yeah. So, I just like that it's not centered around, like, eventually, eventually at some point in the day, you're gonna have to fucking eat something.
Yeah.
But like it's not centered around that. Like
situations where they're like on dates and they're like, I'm kind of hungry. And I was like, oh shit. I was hoping we wouldn't get to this point. And then and we'll still go out to eat, but yeah, it's for another time.
Cool. Well, I mean, in regards to that, like ever since the quarantine, like, I mean, I'm sorry, I keep bringing up Christina. I'm sorry, Christina. She listens. Like,
she's our only listener.
Like, I moved back home, so like, and this quarantine happened, so like she can't come over and stuff like that. But she's moving into a new place, so we're gonna get that routine back this week of having sleepovers and watching movies all day. And I'm like, I'm really excited to get back to the routine because like that made me so happy, and I could see so many fucking movies, which is going to be amazing. So like, I'm really excited about that. I just wanted to say that. I don't know what my point was, but That's a routine. That's a routine that I love, and I'm happy to be getting it back. So.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, I just hope for me, it's just like, I hope we'll eventually be able to. I mean, like, I know now that I'm working full time, I can't leave my house during the week, which is one of the things that I used to like brag about. And I didn't brag about it to anybody. I would just brag it to myself. Like, I'm off for my, like I'm hanging out in the middle of the day doing whatever I want. Can't really do that now that I'm working, obviously. But I'm definitely gonna do a lot of it once I'm able to.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
But yeah, I think now we've said everything we've say about routines and rituals, which I think is a really good title for this episode. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you guys, if you guys have any questions, definitely hit up ohmywad@gmail.com. Or not even questions, but like, what are your routines? What is it?
What are your routines?
What is it?
What do you hate about us?
Yeah. What do you hate about us? What are the routines you hate? What is something that you want to do? Let us know. Or even on the posts on our Instagram. We do have an Instagram. It is ohmywad. It's OHMYWAWD. And you can also follow us individually. Obviously, Hip Arcade, hip_arcade, and there's I'm Avatar Arcade. Hip Avatar_arcade. Fuck, I have too many of these things.
I'm Boyd Decide. It's a public account now. And yeah, I run the Oh My WAD. I don't know why I said that. I'm just.
And he does. He runs it because I have fucking accounts.
It's a start, but
I
like
can't add more accounts.
Yeah, follow that too, because we definitely need followers on our podcast page. So.
Yeah, I still haven't gotten a message about iTunes, but eventually we'll get on iTunes for those of you who only listen specifically on iTunes. But I think everyone's on Spotify, and we're on Spotify too. So if you listen to Spotify, well, you're already listening to us.
Yeah, or just go to hiparcade.com and there's a link. There's a podcast page there if you want to download it directly. So if you're on Android, it's pretty simple. Otherwise, Spotify for now. Yeah.
Right on. Well, thank you so much, Jason, for joining me on this another episode. And as always, we'll see you guys. Hopefully you guys will join us for the morning show. Obviously, this will be posted after the morning show, but I hope you enjoyed the morning show when that comes out. And, let us know how you feel about it. And until
it's very exciting. I'm very excited about it. It should be fun.
Definitely. As always, keep playing, keep watching, keep doing what you're doing. Just to do more of it.